Hello and welcome to 2018 for Georgia high school football officials. We're going to talk about a few things going on, some changes for this year, positive changes. It's part of the evolving process that is Georgia high school football officiating. So let's get into it. All right, first thing, in 2018, instead of there being just one football liaison, it was determined that with all the stuff going on and some of the changes that have been put in place, we need 3 liaisons. And here, myself, I'll be running the camps, responsible for mechanics and training for associations. Which is basically what I've been doing for the last few years, which is cool. Then we have Dr. Bodie, Rick Bodie. Everybody knows Dr. Rick. He'll be the education and rules liaison. He's basically what he's been doing in the past anyways. Responsible for the tests, your quizzes, all your test and quizzes, questions and complaints, please forward them to Dr. Bodie. Everybody has his contact information. And then the last I will welcome in Keith Hammonds. Keith worked as a district coordinator last year, and now he's going to be the point person for our playoff system, which we'll talk about at the end. And Godspeed, Keith. That's all I can tell you. District coordinators in 2018. We have some changes here. We have some people who everybody did a great job last year, but we had some changes this year. People, job, work, other things happen. We have to make some changes. We have a few good people stepping up to the plate to help us out with our districts this year. Max in District 1 is going to take over. He helped Big Mike last year in District 1, and Max is going to step up and be our district coordinator. Tony Ross is also going to be helping Max this year. Tony's a great official from West Georgia. We appreciate Tony stepping up and helping. District 2, Alan Smith still taking the reins there. He's got an assistant this year with James Frey. Just a little more football knowledge in that area is going to help out. We appreciate James stepping up. District 3 is still Dr. Bodie. District 4 is we had some changes. Brian did a great job last year, but with his college schedule and some other things going on, he thought it best that he stepped down from that role. So Clifton Puckett, who's usually doing these voiceovers and videos, is stepped up to the plate to help out the District 4 coordinator. I don't know of anybody else who's watched more film, so he should do a great job there. District 5, Marcus is still doing our district coordinator there. He's done a great job. And Andrew Scotchless is going to help him this year, which we appreciate. Andrew's been working with our camps for the last few years. So we appreciate him stepping up. And then also District 6, still Keith's going to take the reins there. We had with these changes with the liaison, it just felt better that he'd keep District 6 this late in the game. So, and of course, Ralph Green's going to help him also. Ralph's got a great knowledge of officials in Metro Atlanta. Camps 2018. I know you're all waiting with bated breath to find out about camps this year. You have questions. All right, this year, before we get into camps, let's talk about mechanics change for your playoffs and for regular season games that will be mandatory towards the end of the year. And optional if you have schools that want to pay. We're talking about 7-person crews. Basically, mechanics will be CCA manual-based mechanics. Actually, we have an older version which we'll probably use. The CCA manual for 7-person crews hasn't changed in several years. There may be one change. One of the things different in the CCA manual and what we'll do in high school is the ball rotation. Because, in college they have balls for each team on each side, and the ball rotation is different than what we can do here. So that'll be a change. Any other exceptions we'll work out in the camp committee and the mechanics committee. So we'll put that out to you. But it is basically going to be the CCA manual for this year. Okay, camp dates. We're going to talk about the camp dates real quick, and then I'll talk about what kind of camp options there are out there for you. So, of course, we always start our year off with our camps at Westminster. You can see the dates right there. No real reason for me to go through every one of them. But let's talk about the 08, 03 camp, August 3rd camp, and Macon. That is a varsity-only camp. We'll talk about what those are in here in just a second. And then the 8-10 camp, which is on a Friday. It says advanced camp with scrimmages. I'll talk about that in a few minutes too. So let's talk about the different camps now. The playoff camps, 6 camps, which, as you can see right here, the 6 camps that are playoff camps are the 616 camp, 623 camp, the 614 camp, 621 camp, 728 camp, and then the 11-8 camp. Those are all playoff camps. The varsity only camp, which is your varsity, if you're trying to if you're not want to be eligible to work playoffs, you just want to work varsity football, you have to, of course, if you remember a couple of years ago, GHSA made the change that stated that you had to, as an official, if you're going to work playoffs, you have to attend a camp every year. If you just want to work varsity football, you have to attend a camp every other year. And there's been some pride, some people wanting to make sure that we have, if there was an option, if they just wanted to attend a varsity-only camp, that they had the option. So we put that in for this year. So the varsity-only camp is the 8/03 date, which is at Macon, part of the Georgia Athletic Officials Conference. And then let's talk. The playoff camp is basically like the camps that we've been doing in the past. The only difference is everybody has asked for field work in in the playoff camp, so we've incorporated that. We're excited to be able to. Every location that we're going to for our playoff camps has a field available, and we'll be doing some field work. We're working on getting some players out there to throw some passes. We're going to be working some different skill sets. So it's going to be hot. So be prepared when you come to these playoff camps in some of these places. Albany in July is not real cool, and neither is Savannah or Statesboro, where we're going to be at. It's not real cool in June and July, so be prepared for that. So let's talk about the advanced camp. The advanced camp is going to be by invitation only, and I'll talk about that, how it's going to be set up in just a second. So when you go to the GHSA website and you sign up for camps, you have 2 choices. You can sign up for a playoff camp, which you have 6 choices. If you want to be playoff eligible for 2018, you have to sign up for one of those camps. If you just want to be trying to make your varsity only every other year camp, then the option you have is to go to the Macon camp. Of course, if you either way, the playoff camp is available to you if you can't make the Macon camp. The advanced camp, we have 1 camp only, be invite only. We're going to have the North Advanced Camp this year in 2018, the South Camp in 2019. We're probably going to be working on, I did the numbers, this is incorrect, it's going to be 19 scrimmages, and we're going to invite 133 officials to the North Camp this year. Let's talk about costs for the camps. Playoff camps are $80 like they have been for the last 5-6 years. The advanced camp cost is $80 per person, just like the playoff camp. The varsity camp, because it's going to be a shorter camp, lunch will not be provided, so it's only going to cost $50. So now you're asking, how are we going to invite people to the advanced playoff camp and what it's for? So let's talk about how we're going to invite people to the advanced camp. So in 2018, we're only going to do a North officials camp. So in 2019, we'll have an advanced playoff camp in the southern part of the state. So this year, how are we going to do it? How are we going to invite people? So what we did, as you see right here, these are all the associations in the North, districts 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to put it out to the associations to determine their officials to come to this camp. So all these associations you see to the left will have the option to invite whatever number is to the right. So like Etowah Valley, 14 officials. Lanier, 14 officials. Atlanta Quarterback Club, 7. Georgia Officials Athletic Association, 7. GFOA, 14. So how do we come up with that number? Basically on the numbers that we had that worked last year in rounds 3, 4, and 5. So it kind of coordinates with association size and the number of officials who worked in those rounds last year. We came up with this number between myself, Rick, and Keith. We have to keep a certain amount of numbers just so, because all these people are going to go out and work scrimmages. So that day when we have the camp on that Friday, we're going to come in, we'll have our playoff camp, we'll do a little field work, they'll break, then they'll be assigned to scrimmage in the northern part of this state, somewhere where they can get to within an hour. At those scrimmages, we'll have a person there evaluating the crew, watching them when they arrive, watching when they do their pregame, all this other stuff. So that's how we're going to do it. And let me say this camp is to give good feedback to your better officials, the officials who you're going to nominate for the playoff, who are going to work the playoffs, who possibly could be going all the way. And we'll talk about playoffs here in a little while. So is this going to rank the officials like they do in basketball? No. This is just going to be one of these camps where you go out, you come to a camp, you go work a scrimmage, we have somebody there, they give you some feedback, we'll get the film back, we'll give you some more feedback to help you get better prepared for later in the season. That's all it is. We didn't want to go down the route of ranking officials early in the season. We know that, we're just getting started, and people can have bad nights. And I had a guy tell me a couple of years ago, said, you're going to rank me. How can you rank one person on one game? And we don't want to do that. So this is going to be an opportunity for everybody to show what they can do, get some feedback, and get better towards it when the season comes along. And now I'm going to hand this over to Dr. Bodie for your easy listening pleasure. He's going to cover all our new rules for 2018.
This is Rick Bodie commenting on new rules for 2018. Fortunately, there are very few, but 2 of which will impact us as crew members and require thorough knowledge of the new rule and how to implement it. James Arnold has mentioned that we are going to 7-man mechanics this year for the playoffs, and certainly there will be some regular season games that will be worked by both district crews and association crews that will be 7-man mechanics. There will be a 7-man mechanic and GHSA overtime mandatory tests, which will be online in early October. We will also have a little earlier starting point for our Part 2, which will be in mid-July this year. It will involve a week-long period, as it has in the past, and will be composed of your study guide questions. The study guides have been going out since March and are on the GHSA training website, which is familiar to you. There are other documents that have to do with education on there, including a good 3-year plan for new officials and what each association is required to teach. Now, that document doesn't tell you how you are to teach it. It just says what you are required to teach. We are counting on good association cooperation and help in teaching a 7-man mechanic as well as the fundamental mechanics of 6-man that we have been using for several years. Let's look at the new rules for 2018. We have changes to enforcement of live ball infractions by kicking teams. There's an emphasis on absent required equipment, legal equipment worn illegally, and illegal equipment. There's a new signal for all of us to incorporate, and a defenseless player definition has been modestly tweaked, which really will not make a lot of difference to how the game is officiated. Penalty options for Team R involve K fouls on free and scrimmage kicks. It should be noted that these are only fouls that are live ball fouls, or those that are simultaneous with the snap. Previous dead ball fouls on free kicks, such as encroachment and illegal formation, remain dead ball fouls. Also, pop-up kicks remain dead ball fouls. For free kicks, the vast majority of these type of enforcements will come under free kick out of bounds untouched by R. It is possible for the rare instance of illegal participation or illegal contact on an onside kick to be enforced under this new rule as well. For scrimmage kicks, this will involve all those live ball fouls that we have previously had, such as holding, and those that are part of fouls that are simultaneous with the snap, such as illegal formation, principally 6 on the line of scrimmage. This type of enforcement is a tack-on penalty, similar to what many of you have seen on Saturday afternoons. This involves one of the things that has trickled down from the college game in an effort, one, to reduce the number of kickoffs as an injury prevention measure, and also to try to speed up the game. Look at an example for a free kick. Team K kicks off to start the second half from their own 40. The ball goes out of bounds at the R 40-yard line untouched by R. Options available to Team R under the new rule would be to take the ball at the 35, which is 25 yards from the free kick spot. That rule is similar as last year. Take the ball at the R40 plus a 5-yard tack on, or re-kick with a 5-yard penalty. It is hoped that the 5-yard tack on plus the dead ball spot will be a significant option and frequently chosen. It should be remembered that taking the ball at the 35 does not include a 5-yard tack on. Now, for scrimmage kicks, keep in mind that this applies only to live ball fouls or those that are simultaneous with the snap. Not a false start, a snap infraction, or illegal substitution caught prior to the snap. These remain dead ball fouls. Importantly, Team K must not be next to put the ball in play for these options to exist. Like the free kick out of bounds untouched by R, this is an add-on yardage from the end of the play. That is very important because it involves the return. An example, Team K punts with 6 on the line of scrimmage from the K40. The ball is caught and returned to the R 38-yard line. What are the options under the new rule? Re-kick with a 5-yard penalty, Team R ball at the R43, which would be 38-yard line plus 5. Now, required equipment. All of you are aware that there are required equipments. Certainly a 4-pronged chin strap, a tooth protector, knee pads, thigh pads, spine pads, and of course coverage for all our pads, including pants and jerseys. This year, the penalty yardage has been removed from this requirement once it is noted. An example would be a player who is discovered not wearing thigh pads. This is no longer a penalty, but it is an infraction that is going to be fairly significant. Let's get to what this involves, because it is possible that there could be a remarkable amount of inconsistency, something that we very much need to avoid. So when a player is discovered without required equipment, or is wearing legal equipment in an illegal manner, and most of the time that will be a play card that should be on the wrist but is on his belt, and the absent but required equipment is not related to a foul by the opponent, like having his mouthpiece ripped out, an official's timeout is to be called. The player is to be replaced for 1 down or longer until required equipment is worn or legal equipment is worn legally. This is not required if halftime or overtime intermission occurs. Notice that an official's timeout is to be called. Let's look at an example play. An official observes a substitute running onto the field with pants that have no knee pads or are rolled up with knees uncovered. This is seen just before the ball is snapped or after the down has ended. In both situations, the observing official must call timeout. The player shall be replaced until the problem is rectified, unless halftime or overtime intermission occurs. Possibly, this could be seen by a wing official, and the player simply sent back out without timeout to be called. Common sense, as in past years, is to be applied. More importantly, this requires a thorough pre-game examination, and the head coach is to be made aware of problems, if possible, that can be corrected. Emphasis on pre-game detection. Inform the coach and request correction of the problem. There are going to be visiting team issues. Particularly at the JV level, they may be dealing with hand-me-down uniforms, which simply in prior years were not the type of pants that had room for a lot of knee pads. Consistency in enforcing this is going to be required. As always, the GHSA is available to handle major or multiple violations. But use common sense. Try to play the game. Try to allow the student athlete to play with reports if necessary. How about our new signal? All free kick illegal formation infractions are now to be signaled with signal 19, which is the rolling fist or the illegal procedure penalty. Okay? This does not include offsides or encroachment, which remains the same, but having the not required number of kick individuals on each side of the kicker, this would be the signal we would use. The Rules Committee also clarified the defenseless player definition does not apply to a passer until a legal forward pass is actually thrown. That is because the quarterback in this situation remains a runner until he is actually a passer. All of us have had emphasis on protecting this individual for several years. This does not change. Targeting of a player or spearing of this player, whether he is a runner or a passer, remains the same. In conclusion, we have few changes, but they involve crew function, both in detecting illegal equipment or improperly worn equipment, new enforcements on kicking situations, and the crew function particularly in pre-game evaluation of these equipment problems. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Have a good season.